Hello and welcome to another Let's Play. Me, GamerWolfSix, of not the smoke room, but Echo. As I said it on the last Let's Play and stopped it, I was like, right, it's not the smoke room, it's Echo. It's kind of weird how it kind of went to it. It wasn't any other Let's Play, but the smoke room, something that's connected to. So, before we start, if you're interested in playing this game, you can get it for free on itch.io, but if you want people that made this game and are making other games, go to Patreon, $3 a month. So, what happened in the last Let's Play? We went to Kudzu's place, or brought there by Kudzu, who we didn't really tell too much about what kind of went down, because we happened and we just weren't feeling in the right mind to do it. But after a bit of rest, Kudzu told us that things are going crazy. Like, the only other otter in town has a shotgun, had ripped clothes and blood, telling us that there's a town hall meeting, and the mayor was like showing us a body, and we're showing them bodies, and hey, we just need to pray that no one can leave town, and a house is on fire, and another one was broken into, and it's just like, don't know what's going on. Stuff's insane. Also, the wireless and wired phone lines are down. So, yeah. But right now, me and Kudzu are on our way to Duke's house to try and get Leo out of there. He suggests, and we do it. We try to keep off the road in the brush on our way to Duke's house. Despite our situation, the biggest thing on my mind right now is ticks. Funny how the mind works. The faint shouts and yells coming from the town are more frequent now. Another pop comes from that direction. It reminds me of the gun Kudzu has tucked into his waistband. He never used one before, and it took us a solid couple minutes to decide if he should even stick it there. I mean, he should definitely get a gun, but where to put it exactly, I don't know. Another pop. I can't help but think that that's where the motel is, where Jenna might be. Though, not much is out of place, aside from the smell of smoke in the breeze. That is, until we come across a body hanging from the tree about 100 yards from Duke's house. I'm the first to notice it, and when I do, I gasp and instinctively reach for Kudzu. He catches my hand, then looks up as he holds on to me. It's high up, maybe 50 feet. But from the markings on the fur, I think it's a fox. Like, what is it hanging from? 50 feet is high in the air. Oh, Jesus. Kudzu whispers next to me as I look away, feeling my stomach turn again. What the hell? How do you get up there? I look back and see that he's hanging by his wrist. I don't think he could have done that himself. Yeah. We both stare up at him for a while longer. Long enough to notice the long, vertical slashes down his back. Those are the same cuts I saw on the other guy. Kudzu whispers distractedly. But who put him up there? Kudzu's silent, and I keep staring up at the guy. The first dead guy I've ever seen. I mean, there is, the body of your friend Sydney. I think his name's Sydney. And then there was maybe that hanging body you saw in the forest that just kind of disappeared. So that's a lie. Suddenly, all my motivation to get Leo starts to evaporate. Kudzu rests a hand on my shoulder, and I jump. Sorry. Kudzu pats me. You alright? I'll take you back, okay? That sounds like the best idea in the world right now. I hesitate. When I think of Leo, I imagine him in the same situation I was with Brian. Duke didn't seem as fucked up, but I had no idea what he's capable of. The thought makes me feel as if my heart is dropping through the ground, so I grit my teeth and shake my head. No, I'm okay. Katsu looks at me closely, then nods. Okay, let's get back towards the road. Though I don't think anyone's around right now anyway. I want to move towards the road, too. Mainly because I'm actually starting to worry that moving further away from the town really is dangerous. Duke's house is dark as we approach it. As you get close, though, I see flashes of light from the window as well. We both crouch next to the house, behind the small cluster of sagebrush. Alright, so all I can really think to do is knock on the door, see if he's there. I swallow. You'd stay hiding, of course, but if he does come out, I don't know. I may try to put him down right there. Then I'd come out and help. Kaju let out a low chuckle. Yeah, but again, I'm not sure if that's what I'll do. You might be able to talk him out of this. Yeah, I don't have much faith in that plan. But if he isn't there, well, we'll probably go in and find Leo, alright? Okay. My heart rate picks up as I realize how close we are to making this happen. I start to have second thoughts. Maybe we should have at least looked for the sheriff? Wasn't there not a sheriff in town? Maybe we should have gone straight to the motel. I mean, that's more of a town kind of thing, I would say, and town no bueno. Alright. I can tell Kudzu's nervous, too, as he wipes his hands on his tank top before standing up slowly. Just watch from here. If he comes out with his gun, though, I'm not going to try anything. He hesitates. And if I get shot, or something, don't help. Just run back to the house, and start looking for your other friends, I guess. Now, I'm really starting to feel unprepared for all of this. Everything is moving way too fast. There isn't really any time, though. We have to save Leo as soon as possible. There's no telling what Duke might be doing with him. As Kudzu starts to move away, I get an urge to hug him. He's done so much for me already, saving me, and now trying to save Leo. But now, he's already halfway across the yard to the house. I hold my breath and watch as Kudzu's dark form melds in with the blackness of the house. It's like he's being swallowed up by it in a way. After a few moments, I hear him knock on the door. I listen, trying to breathe through my mouth. Instead of whistling noise, Instead of my whistling noise, I can better hear what's going on. Kudzu knocks again, but much more loudly. I was afraid that was a bullet. Hey, it's Cud. I need some help. I look up and down the road, worried someone's going to hear us shouting. There's a slight rustling behind me, and I look back, eyes wide. I don't see anything at first, but then I feel like there's a shape behind another grove of sagebrush, about 20 feet back. Something crouched, the moonlight defining its shape through the brush. I squint, completely stopping my breathing. It looks like it has a tail, a really thick one, like an otter. Was it Dale? I can't even tell if it's really a person, though. Chase! Kudzu's whisper shouts, and I jump before stumbling to my feet. The shape behind me doesn't move at all, and I try to reassure myself that it's probably a rock. I jog over to Kudzu as he tries the door, trying not to think too much about what I just saw. Locked. He looks around for a while, then starts moving down the side of the house. Look for a window. Are we going to break one? Maybe. Should only take us a few minutes to sweep the house. Then we can get the hell out. We quickly spot a window on the back of the house. Kudzu looks in and bites his lip. I'm just worried Duke might still be in there with the gun, or something. He bends over, picking up a sizable rock. Well, not much choice. If I say run, run. Got it? I nod, and Kudzu lifts the rock above his head before smashing it through the window. The sound is probably the loudest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. I cover my own ears, like that's gonna lessen the sound. Kaji jumps to the side, away from the window, reaching back to hold on to me. The fur on Kaji's body fizzles up, and I see his ears perked up as far as they can go. Once the final tinkling of glass subsides, both listen. My ears are ringing, but the only other sound I can hear is the chirping of crickets. Finally, Kaji lets out a soft breath. Alright, let's go. I help him push out a few more shards of glass. Once that's done, the raccoon hoists himself inside, very carefully maneuvering around the sharp, broken edges. He turns and reaches out to me, helping me through in the same fashion. Even though I'm trying to be careful, when I bring my arm in, it drags on the jagged edge of glass, sticking from the outside. A grimace, fiery pain, taking a moment to really set in. Shit, you okay? He grabs my wrist, so he can pull my arm up to examine in the moonlight, and sucks in a breath. Oh fuck, you might need stitches for that. That's when I see the blood starting to ooze up from the fur. It's only about an inch long, but the amount of blood coming up is out of surprising. Damn it, I'll take care of it after I find Leo. I put my arm away, despite Kudzu still trying to take a look at it. Alright, I'll see if I can find something to wrap it up in. Kudzu starts fumbling along the wall and finds a light switch. I'm surprised to see a fairly quaint and tidy home. Unlike Kudzu's trailer, though, there's barely anything in it. There's a single sofa and very old-fashioned TV in what I presume is the living room. There's a fireplace and a few dirty-looking chairs on the other side of the room. You can definitely tell, like, that thing, that's just foam right there, not an actual, cushion. In front of us is a long hallway with a few doors on both sides. Alright, check every room and door. It's not a very big house. Kudzu sits off down the hall. Look for stairs. I feel like he'd be in the basement. As Kudzu goes into a room to the left, I peer to the one to the right. Looks like a bedroom with a single twin in the middle of the room. I take a few steps in, looking around and not seeing anything else. When I turn back around, I do see some picture frames hung up on the wall. It seems kind of odd for someone like Duke to have those up. In the pictures, I see a much, much younger Duke. Or at least pre-meth Duke. Next to him is a female weasel, her smile small compared to Duke's tooth-bearing grin. She's in the 3 other pictures next to that one too. Weird. I wouldn't have had thought anyone would want to be with Duke, especially someone as pretty as that weasel. I move on to the next room, and this one is completely empty, painted white. The next door down is the last one to the right side of the hall. This is the only door that is closed, and, like the last room's walls, it's painted white. It's taller, and seems to be a bit thicker than the other doors. When I try the knob, it's locked. Kudzu? I whisper. Kudzu pokes his head out from one of the doors just behind me. What's up? I point to the door in front of me. This one's locked. Kudzu stands in front of the door and presses his ear to it. I hear his hand hover in front of the crack between the door and its frame. Then he reaches out to my hand and pulls it up to the same spot. He looks at me. You feel that? I'm about to say no, but that's when there's a noticeably cooler draft coming from within. It's kinda cold. The basement. I bet my ass that Leo's down there. I swallow. Should we try and break down the door or something? I don't. Kudzu's ears perk up straight, and his eyes widen. My fur bristles out. What? That's when I hear it, the crunching of gravel. Kudzu grabs my arm and starts pushing me back, down the hall, towards the back room, with the broken window. At that moment, I hear the knob turn, and suddenly, my path changes direction as Kudzu steers me into the room to our left. It's one of the rooms I hadn't looked into myself, and I see that's a storage room. Boxes are everywhere, and so is a bunch of junk. I guess that explains why all the other rooms are so spotless, and that he's not using the basement for storage. Kaji looks around desperately for a moment, then pulls me behind the mound of boxes, just as I hear the door swinging open. The problem ain't that he got away. Duke is practically screeching when he comes inside, as if he'd been waiting to be indoors before he yelled. Underneath Duke's patterned feet on the wooden floor, I hear two loud thumps, and I know immediately who's with them. My blood runs cold, and my breathing seems to stop, worried that they'll be able to hear even that. If he's behind all this, he's gonna make things so much worse. Huh? I hear the non-committal grunt from the bear, and I shudder at the sound of his voice again. I feel a light touch my back as Kudzu rests his hand there, trying to comfort me. What do you mean, huh? You like the dreams you're having now? 'Cause trust me, it's gonna get a hell of a lot worse. I hear the smacking sound, which I imagine is Duke's tiny hand trying to slam Brian in the face. What the fuck are you staring at? Duke's grating, nasally voice echoes around the carpetless house. Your window. There's a moment of silence as I hear some shifting around. Then suddenly I hear Duke's footsteps bristle down the hall. I dug more deeply behind the boxes as he passes, the doorway to her room. Fuck. Is someone fucking here? Hopefully you don't see a blood trail. Brian's lumbered down the hall, basically standing right in front of our room. I hear two more thumps and a bunch of rustling as Dukes inefficiently beats at the bear's bulk. Fucking idiot! They broke in! I hear a jiggling of keys as Duke continues to shout. Check every fucking room. I bet they broke through the basement window too. Fuck! Now that he says that, breaking through the basement window might have been the better idea. Looking between the crack in the boxes, I get a flash of the weasel walking past the door again. Is Duke a weasel? He's holding something long and skinny. I shrink back against the boxes, wondering how in the world I got here. As I stare at the ground, I also wonder if I'm about to have a heart attack. I focus on watching the blood seep from my arm, pooling on the wooden floor next to me. There's a key. I hear a key go into a lock, and the doorknob turn. I swear to God, if that wolf ain't down there, I'll blow your goddamn face off. Duke's voice fades away, accompanied by receding footsteps down the stairs. The heavy footfalls of Brian start to move around, slowly, towards the other end of the hall. Kudzu moves his hand up to my shoulder. I look at him, and he holds his finger to his lips, then points in the direction of the broken window. I don't want to move at all. In fact, I'd rather sit here and just disappear into the floor. Somehow, though, I'm able to force myself to my feet as Kudzu tugs me up. I move very slowly to the doorway, and there Kudzu holds up a hand, making me pause. I watch his ears perk, flicking in the direction of Brian. My hearing probably isn't nearly as good as his, but I'm still able to pick up the bear's heavy, labored breathing. I hear some shuffling, then more heavy footsteps. Kudzu freezes as they both listen to the bear move back into the hallway. Then his footsteps fade away. I imagine he moved into another room, and that's when Kudzu finally peers around the corner. I hold my breath, but Kudzu reaches back and grabs my wrist, pulling me out into the hallway. It's empty, and as quiet and quickly as we can. We move to the end of the hall and stand next to the broken window. Kudzu sticks one leg out the window before balancing his entire weight on both his hands that are resting on the bottom edge. I'm not sure why we can't go out the front door. You think that it would be safer than going around broken glass and stuff, and broken window, and it might be unlocked. I think you could just turn the lock and eat. Like a gymnast, he moves the other leg out and quietly drops to the ground outside, his head narrowly missing the top ledge. I don't know if it's because he's a raccoon or an actual gymnast, but there's no way in hell that I'm going to be able to do that. Kudzu already reaching for me, though, his eyes wide with frantic worry. I hear shuffling sounds behind me again, coming from one of the rooms. Kudzu reaches out towards me, then suddenly waves his hand wildly in the direction of the room right next to me. Heart pounding, I almost stumble through the doorway into the room. What are we doing? This is one of the few chairs stacked up against the side of the wall, and it looks like close to the door. Brian's footsteps thump down the hall again, and I almost gasp as I get a glimpse of his massive shadow through the doorway. But then it disappears as I hear his footsteps move into the room right next to me. From just inside the room, I see Kudzu slowly pop up in front of the window, then motion frantically towards himself. My legs are like jelly, though, and I hesitate. Then there's a raspy, dragging sound from in the room next to me that almost makes me jump. It's the sound of a cardboard box being slid across the floor. I hear Brian mumbling, definitely not paint. I force my numbed feet to stumble out into the hallway towards the window. Kudzu reaches for me, his eyes desperate, but then I hear shuffling behind me again. Why is he moving so fast now? Automatically, I step back into the room while Kudzu continues to beckon to himself. Brian's lumbering footsteps move down the hallway, slowly in my direction. Kudzu is ducked back down, out of sight. I'm alone and trapped. I remember the closet is at the last minute and lunge towards it, not having enough time to worry about the sound I make. Somehow, the closet door glides open with hardly a sound, as if the hinge had just recently been greased. I step inside, then swing the door shut, trying not to let it snap closed. At that exact moment, Brian's lumbering gait enters the room. I shrink back into the wall, holding my hands to my mouth, trying not to breathe. My heartbeat is so loud, it's the only thing I can hear, as if it's pounding my ears. I hear coughing and grunting coming from behind the door, then it goes quiet. I wait, unsure whether the bearer has left or not. Slowly, I walk up to the door, pressing the side of my head gently against it. I listen, trying to see if I can hear anything. I swallow, then reach up to rest my hand on the doorknob. I think about making it run for it, maybe trying to dive through the window. I might get hurt, but if I'm able to get away. I wait for what feels like 2, maybe 3 minutes. It's complete silence on the other side. I wait even longer, to the point where I'm sure there's no way someone like Brian could keep that quiet for that long. So slowly as they can, I push the door open, and immediately come into contact with something on the other side, before it's even a foot open. It's soft, whatever it is, and the door almost bounces back from it. I wait for a moment, then, as I'm starting to realize what just happened, a massive bear paw reaches around the edge of the door. In the next half second, the door is ripped open, and I find myself facing Brian. A weird, numbing feeling spreads down from my crotch to my legs, and I sag in front of the bear. My mind refuses to think, to even process what my eyes are seeing. What does process is pure terror. Brian seems to have trouble understanding what he's seeing as well. He stares at me for a few seconds, his eyes practically crossing as he focuses on me. Then he grins. "Hey, you?" I can't respond. Instead, I press back into the closet, flattening myself against the wall as he reaches out to me. Still, there isn't much I can do as he grabs the front of my shirt and yanks me out of the closet. He starts to pull me towards the doorway. As I stumble into the hall, I am finally able to start trying to move again. Seeing the window, I lunge towards it, but Brian's grip is too strong. I hear a few popping sounds as some threads in my shirt give out, and Brian yanks me back violently. Everything goes black as something massive knocks up against the side of my face. The next thing I know, I'm thrown down the hall, flat on my back. I'm staring up at the ceiling, watching it slide sideways above me like it's painted into a treadmill. My right foot is hiked up into the air, and I realize that Brian's dragging me along the floor now, back towards the ends of the hall. The fur on my back glides easily along the hardwood, my shirt scrunched up to my chest. Brian stops as he reaches for the wide door, pushing it open. Dizzily, I look up at the window, wondering if Kudzu is there, and if he can see me. I reach towards it, but that's when I'm being dragged again, and land painfully on the first step. I gasp and turn sideways, so that Brian drags me clumsily down the rest of the steps. My spine isn't taking the rest of the corners. It's dark, and the air turns cool and musty. We finally reach the bottom of the steps, pain pulsating at various points of my body from the rough handling. Brian starts dragging me again, and I finally realize he's going to have me trapped again. He'll do whatever his sick mind has come up with, and there won't be anybody there to stop him. I mean, Duke, maybe. No. I moan and try to grab something, anything, to stop me from being pulled deeper into his basement. My hand manages to latch onto the wooden beam next to the stairs. Brian grunts as his body is snapped into full extension, and we're brought to a halt. Come on, let's go. I keep clinging to the beam, imagining that at any moment Kudzu is going to come running down the stairs, gun in hand. It comes to an end as Brian kicks me in the chest and let go with a wheeze. You know, you're the one making it this hard on yourself. He starts dragging me again as I curl up and cradle my chest, vaguely hoping they'd given me a heart attack and I'd be free from all this. I swear to God, if you're lying to me, Leo, I'm gonna paint the ceiling with your fucking brains. Why am I still here if someone came to save me then? The sound of Leo's voice has me snapping my eyes open again. While it isn't quite as heartening as Kudzu barging in with a weapon, it's definitely relieving to hear his voice again. I'm dragged through another doorway into a brightly lit room, the reflectant light buzzing overhead. As I come to a stop on the cement floor, the room goes quiet and I squint against the sunlight. The walls on all sides are covered in shelves that are filled with silver tins and soup cans. A storage room of some kind. Duke is standing in the middle of the room, next to a metal chair, staring at me. In that chair is Leo. He looks pretty alright. His arms are down at his sides, and I can see that they're both handcuffed to the sides of the chair. His feet are similarly strapped to the chair legs. His face is on one of shock as he stares at me, open-mouthed. I stare back, feeling weirdly self-conscious as everyone watches me. Duke breaks the silence. I knew it. Duke is snarling, but it's not at me. Instead, he's looking at Brian, his lips drawn back as he growls. This is what fucking happens. Wait, sorry. Mouth reading faster. This is what the fuck happens. Brian scratches his head. What happens? Duke kicks at the air with a foot before stamping down on a hard cement that makes up the floor of the room. This, Leo wasn't supposed to know he got away. Wasn't supposed to know? Well, I caught him, so what's the difference? Duke lunged at Brian, swinging his arms with a few times to beat his fists uselessly against the bear's bulk. Brian flinches back anyway, letting go of my foot. Leo's still staring down at me, mouth slightly less open, and I have no idea what's going on in his mind right now. I suddenly realized how stupid I was to come here with kudzu. Sure, leaving Leo as soon as possible was important. No, wait, saving him. Sorry. We're leaving him. Sorry, this is a weird time to say that we're breaking up. Saving Leo as soon as possible was important, but why had I thought we could have done that alone? I should be in my car right now, halfway to Peyton, 20 minutes away from the cops. Instead, I'm in Duke's basement, about to be murdered. I slowly sit up, as Duke seems to finish his beating of Brian. Gasping, he turns to me. Fuck. Well, if you're here, I guess we'll have to make use of you. He moves his hands loosely between me and Brian. Pick him up. Wait a second, just shut up. Brian picks me up roughly, almost encircling my chest with his hands alone as he pins my arms to my sides. He holds me in front of Leo and Duke stands to the side between us. It's only now that I notice the puffiness of Leo's left eye, some crusted blood near his brow, with some more coming from his lower lip. It's not terrible, but it's clear he had been hit a few times. As I watch him, I can see the fear in his eyes, reflected back at me. That alone almost scares me more than the situation we're in. Ah, not smirking anymore, are you? Duke bares his teeth in Leo's direction. Been trying to wipe it off your face this whole time, and turns out this is all I need to do it. Duke gestures at me. You little fuck otter, huh? Leo closes his eyes and shakes his head. Why are you here? He mumbles it, almost to himself. Duke leans in close to the wolf. Why did you run if you got away? No, wait, why didn't you run? Leo opens his eyes, and he's looking straight at me. I don't know if he expects me to answer, but the look of defeat on his face makes me feel like I have to. We wanted to save you. We didn't know where you were or what was happening. Duke suddenly leans away from Leo towards me, his eyes narrowed. We? Who's we? Fuck. I feel my stomach drop as I realize what I've just done. I mean all of us. I saw some of my friends out there before you came here, but I'm alone. Duke studies me closely. Was there anyone else up there, Brian? Brian is sulking behind me, letting go of my shoulder, occasionally to rub at his chin. Didn't see nobody except this otter. Duke looks up at the ceiling, like he's listening for footsteps or something. Duke. Leo snaps his attention back to Leo. Duke snaps his attention back to Leo, and knows his face is practically dancing with twitches and ticks. This is crazy. Leo enunciates each word through gritted teeth, his muzzle lowered so that he's looking up at Duke's eye to eye. Look at this. Look at everything you've done. It makes no sense. Duke lets out a high-pitched laugh. Crazy? You know what's crazy? Duke gestures at me again. Ask him about what he saw out there. Duke turns to face me, swinging his hands from me to Leo. Go on, tell him. He doesn't believe me. The corner of Duke's eye seems to have a mind of its own, like there's some kind of living creature under the surface, writhing around. Was it a little crazy? I stare at Duke's I stare at Duke entranced until Brian gives me a quick jerk. I saw a body. There were gunshots. Duke giggles. And that ain't half of it. Houses on fire, people eating each other. You think I'm crazy for shooting Janice? But if you knew. And how the hell are we supposed to know why that is? Leo leans forward, as far as his bonds let him, eyes wide, almost pleading with Duke. This started when you got here. He lowers his voice dangerously, leaning back toward Leo, their noses almost touching. That doesn't mean Shit. Leo speaks, haltingly back at the weasel. Does this? Duke suddenly pulls his gun from his waistband of his pants and points it straight at my face. I barely able to comprehend it before Brian jumps to the side with me, out of the way of the gun. Fucking Christ, Duke, don't point it at me. Leo almost stands up on his toes with the chair still attached to his body, fur bristled out all over his body. Duke lowered the gun, though, still watching Leo. Leo slumps back in the chair, trembling. Just stop, Duke. I don't know anything. Duke stares for a moment at the wolf, frowning. Then looks down at his gun, as if contemplating something. Slowly, he looks at me, then points the gun at Leo's head. My heart jumps in my throat, and Brian has to hold on to me as I try to hold out my hands. Wait, what are you doing? Maybe if it's just you, Otter. Maybe it is just you, Otter. What? It's you I was seeing before you got here. And it was you I saw sneaking around at night. What the hell are you talking about? I feel myself start to panic as I see Duke's finger tighten around the trigger. I don't know that's happening. I don't know what's happening. Okay, it's exclamation mark, sorry. Leo's doing his best to keep his head out of the line of fire, leaning his head as far to the side as he can. Duke doesn't seem to be paying attention to him, though, instead keeping his eyes on me. Just explain to me why you think it's me. Maybe I can help. It seems to get some sort of reaction out of Duke, as he lowers his gun a bit. Problem now, though, is that it's pointed at Leo's chest, and there's no way he can dodge that. Duke is studying me closely, as if trying to figure out what to say. You know, this has happened before. My mind races. The mass hysteria thing? Like, 100 years ago? Yeah, that's right. See, how do you know that? He looks closely at me, but I'm relieved that he finally takes the gun away from Leo and points it at the ground. I did some research before coming here. I'm doing a news story about Echo for school. Duke is still eyeing me suspiciously. So you know about the murder? Trying to think back to my research about what exactly happened. It was a while ago now, and I planned to fill in the gaps when I got back to Pueblo. Kind of. It happened in the mine. Yeah, it did. And then people went nuts. I wait, but Duke doesn't go on, filling the air with awkward silence. I can see Leo's head looking back and forth, probably trying to come up with a way to get out of this. I hope he's figuring something out, because I have no idea how we're going to do that. But do you know why? I'm trying to sift through Duke's psyche to figure out why he thinks this might be related to Leo and I. Duke's breathing has leveled off, and with his calmness, there's a feeling that we might have managed to ride out the storm. My grandpappy lived through it all, and stayed in the town after. Oh, don't tell me that you're Cliff's, great grandson. I would feel sorry for Cliff's descendants. Oh? I notice Leo's not looking around anymore. Instead, his eyes are trained on the door behind me and slightly to my right. I want to look back, but Duke seems distracted right now, so I try to keep him engaged. Yeah, it happened weeks after the body was found. Sorts of built up till all hell broke loose. Leo nods his head slightly, his eyes still on the door, and my heart leaps in my chest as I realize what might be happening. Do you know what that was? Duke shakes his head. There's something bad in this town. The earth's bad. The air's bad. Everything's tainted. So, do you think something's in the air? Or water? Or something? I'll lean a bit to the left to try and keep Duke's eyes on me, away from Leo or the door. I don't know about that. My grandpappy thought that because they didn't catch the murderer, it planted some seeds in the bad dirt. Duke looks at the ceiling and grew something terrible. It wasn't till they killed the guy that did it that it stopped. Ooh, buddy. Because that brought us two things. One, we got Sam from the first game. He did kind of do it, but then it's like, does that mean Sam needs to get killed for everything to fix? But then also B, that would have to, if that were true, that would mean to imply that maybe Chase needs to be muertoed because he killed Sydney. Though Sydney killed someone else maybe. So how does that work? That's news to me. I didn't read anywhere that the murderer had been caught. Duke looks back down at me, but also it could be anyone else that was killed, because like then there was also the rat guy that was killed, you know? So I don't know what it is. If it's a murder or guilt or not catching someone that did wrong. I hear the soft sound of footpad against the floor behind me and pray that none of the others did. But it started when you got here, so you gotta forgive me for wondering if one of you did something bad. Duke starts to raise his gun again, and brought that guilt back to this poison land to grow the seeds again. Duke doesn't sound like himself at all, not even his recently crazed self. Still, though, I don't want to admit it, I start to have an idea of what Duke might be getting at. How this all fits into our history. What was that kid's name a while back that died in the lake? He wasn't murdered. You sure about that? Yes. But I'm not, am I? Yeah. I swallow hard, aware that some of the pieces don't fit, despite how disturbing the implications are. But that was years ago. Why didn't it start then? Why now? Duke shrugs. Maybe you wasn't guilty till now. Maybe kids don't understand what they've done. Maybe it's 'cause you left, and it made it angry. But he wasn't murdered. You see it happen? No, but the person that did wouldn't ever do that. So I'm talking to the wrong guy right now. Who was it? I look over at Leo again, swallowing hard. Who was it? Should be a question mark. Duke starts to raise the gun again, and what happens over the course of the next minute is too fast for me to comprehend until it's over. Leo explodes from his sitting position, face twisted in rage, as he bares his teeth in full-on wolf snarl. Though his feet are handcuffed to the legs of the chair, he's still able to lunge off the ground with his feet. He launches himself at Duke, slamming into the weasel with a painful crunch of flesh on flesh and metal on concrete. I gasp and watch as Leo starts ripping into Duke with his teeth. Duke screams and flails his arms around, apparently forgetting his weapon, as it flies from his fingers. The gun slides across the ground to tap gently against the wall, just 5 feet from me. Brian keeps a tight grip on me, though, but that's when I hear a clicking sound from behind me. Brian does too, and he turns sideways, allowing me to see the source as well. And there stands Kudzu, both hands on Leo's handgun, as he points it up at Brian's head. It clicks uselessly though, and Kudzu's face is a mask of terror, desperation, and confusion. What, misfire, or did he not check for bullets? The safety... Leo is still struggling on the ground with a screaming Duke, lifting his mouth from the weasel's arm to shout at Kudzu. I mean, I guess we can shoot the bear, because he can't, deal with Kudzu and us, right? Kudzu's eyes snap to the gun in his hand. Ryan's already moving. He kicks at Kudzu's hand, and he connects violently, sending the gun flying into the air to clap against the ceiling. Brian lets go of me at that point, reaching out to catch the gun. Oh, buddy. I mean, I feel like Duke's gonna be much easier to deal with than, dealing with the bear. Kudzu, I hope I'm picking the right choice. Because there's no one fighting over Duke's gun, I realized that might be the best chance. I lunge in the opposite direction. Clumsily, I scoop up the weasel's gun, turning it over my hands until I'm holding it the right way. Brian, my gun. Leo is still tearing away at the weasels. As Duke holds them up in defense. I turn around, crouch back against the wall as I see Brian standing over a downed Kudzu. I can only pray that he hasn't killed him. At the point, the gun at Brian just as he turns around to face me. Seeing that he's about to get shot, the bear lunges at me, his massive paws stretched out towards me. Luckily for me, the gun is loaded. Trying to keep myself steady, I manage to find the safety and flick it off. I shoot him right in the face. The sound is so loud in the tiny room that my hearing goes out for a moment. Brian crumples to the floor, and the room goes quiet. But only for a moment. The earthly howling sound comes from the bear as he slowly props himself up on his hands, looking back up at me. For a moment, I wonder if the evil powers of Echo have brought him back to life somehow. But no, there's a bloody hole just above his blunt nose, and I can see the whites of bone peeking through the red. Somehow, the bullet hadn't pierced his skull. Shakily, I raise the gun again, but Brian rolls away to the door, and with speed that shouldn't be possible for a bear his size. He's gone. I stare for a moment, wondering if I should run after him, but snarl next to me as me pointing the gun at Duke's instead. Leo still tearing into his arms as Duke hollers at the top of his lungs, trying to cover his face. Leo, stop. I've got the gun on him. Leo looks up at me with wide eyes, pausing for a moment before slowly letting go of the mustelid's arms, blood drool hanging from his chin. I try to ignore that and keep the gun trained on Duke's head as Leo flops on the side of his chair. I've seen how little the bullets had affected Brian. I'm not confident it will do much damage to Duke. I mean, bear skulls are stronger than other skulls, so just saying. Maybe bears have thicker skulls, but I'm more worried that the gun is just shit. Duke doesn't move though, as he lays back against the concrete, eyes closed, gasping for breath. His arms are at his sides, both of them leaking blood onto the ground. Leo really did a number on them. He definitely needs to go to hospital. A hand touches my shoulder and I jump. I look back to see it's Kudzu. Sorry, you okay? Leo's gun hangs loosely from one of his hands. Though I do want to actually do a safety save to be like, contact. To be like, hey, what happens if we choose the other one? Boop. Duke. Because I'm not sure if there are fail safes like in, not fail safe, but fail things like in the, smoke room. Slowly from his hands. Kudzu, you fucking saved our lives. I grin at him, and I almost sob it with relief. I want to hug him, but I have to keep the gun on Duke. Of course. I'm sorry I didn't stop him when he took you. I wasn't sure what to do. I need to realize that when they do that long line there, it's a quick one, because I feel like it's I didn't know what to do, but it's like, I didn't know what to do kind of thing. He touches my shoulder again, and I can feel him trembling. Don't worry about it. We're okay now. Can someone get me out of these handcuffs, please? My arms are fucking killing me. Killing you? You ripped mine apart. Or I guess I'd be yelling. Duke is practically sobbing now, curling up to his side, holding his arms to his chest. Fuck you, asshole. Leo spits at him as he tries to adjust his position on the floor. Where are the keys, Duke? Duke takes in a shuddering breath and holds in for a few seconds before answering, right pocket. Kudzu walks over and kneels next to the weasel, shifting through this pocket. Keep it on the door, Chase, in case Blubbergut comes back. I try to angle myself so I can keep an eye on both the door and Duke, even though I'm pretty sure the latter is through at this point. Kudzu pulls the small metal key out before moving over to Leo, fumbling around for a good while before the handcuffs finally drop to the ground. Okay, that sound is out of the game. Leo kneels for a moment, wringing out his wrists. You okay? He smiles at me. I'm a little sore, but I think I'll be alright, Puchita. He gets unsteadily to his feet, taking a pair of handcuffs up with him before bending quickly to give me a kiss on the head. I'm so happy you're okay, Chase. And thank you, Kudzu. He slaps the raccoon on the back before returning his attention to the weasel. Duke notices and quickly curls up tighter. I was just trying to help everyone. Leo grabs him by the bloodied arms before yanking him violently to his feet. The weasel screams double as the wolf twists his arms behind his back, handcuffing them. Why the hell do you have so many handcuffs anyway? Duke starts sobbing again until Leo whips him around and slaps him across the face. Duke sways, stunned by the power of the blow, before Leo brings his hand back to hit him on the other cheek. Shut the fuck up. Leo ignores Kudzu as he pulls the chair back up and throws Duke into it violently. So violently it almost tips over. Hey, Leo, let's chill for a sec. Collect our things, get the fuck out of here. Please, I'm sorry. I just want to help. Duke cowers as Leo raises his hand again. I realize how tightly I'm holding onto the gun, and though I'm pointing it at the ground now, I'm sure to take my finger off the trigger. Good plan. While Leo's violence is a little disturbing, it's almost comforting to have him throw his weight around, after how the weasel had threatened us. Kudzu, on the other hand, doesn't look comforted at all. He's still trembling from the earlier fight, and he's pulling at the fur on his chin as he watches Leo. Careful, Leo. Let's take him into the cops or something. Kudzu looks over his shoulder at the door. Going to Peyton is probably the better idea now that I realize how messed up everyone is. Yeah. I mean, if that monster they're all talking about isn't real, would have been better to risk that than get involved with these idiots. I haven't even thought about the supposed thing keeping everyone from leaving town. It seems silly now that we just let a stupid story like that keep us here. Leo doesn't seem to be listening. You fucking lunatic, Duke. Why shouldn't I just kill you right now? Leo? Leo looks over his shoulder at us, finally shaking his head at Kudzu's conspiratorially. Kudzu goes silent as Leo goes back to staring down at the weasel. Now explain to us what the hell is going on. Leo leans in closer with his bloody muzzle, and Duke cringes back. Tell us the truth, and maybe I'll let you go. Leo glances at me. I won't kill you, at least. He's trying to make it clear to me that he's just trying to scare Duke. At least, that's what I hope he's doing. I already explained. Duke's eyes dart back and forth between us. The way he's kicking his feet around with a high-pitched, whiny voice makes me think of a child. It's really ugly, malnourished child. I still feel a little bad for him, though. Remind me, because I was a little fucking distracted. Kudzu slides up next to me and sets his hand on my shoulder. You want to watch the door? I touch a hand on the acknowledgement and turn around to face the door. I don't really think Brian's going to be coming back, though. I told you, something bad's happening, and we need to figure out what. Yeah. How did kidnapping us help anything? Duke sighs deeply and glances over my shoulder to see him slumping in defeat. Last time this happened, it might have been caused by a murder. Not the murder, but that the guy got away with murder. There's a moment of silence. Okay. Leo's tone demands that Duke goes on. So the guilt's from the guy, or the worry in the town, or just the spirits. Heck, I don't know. Maybe all of that. But it came together to make everything go crazy. Okay, sure. How does this have anything to do with us? I saw the otter sneaking around town before you says they got here. I look back again and see Duke looking at me. So is Leo. Seemed kind of fishy to me, so I thought he might have something to do with it all. Was my only lead. Leo doesn't respond this time. I look back again and see that he's still looking at me. What is it? You told me yourself, Leo, that you saw him sneaking around too. It was someone else. How the hell do you know that? What are you guys talking about? Kazu, can you watch the door? I finally turn around. Leo leans a hand on the back of Duke's chair as he sighs. If you remember Chase, I told you about how I thought I saw someone out the window that looked like you. Leo turns the glare back to Duke. Got drunk with this asshole and accidentally told him about it too. We both saw it. Isn't that a little bit strange? Some otter came by the town that looked like Chase. What the hell else was it? Leo glances back at me, and I feel like there's some doubt in his eyes. I mean, you weren't here, right? Of course I wasn't. I know. Just making sure. Leo turns back to Duke. Why would that mean anything, anyway? Duke looks around, visibly clenching his toes. I've heard stuff about doubles, like doppelgangers, or something. Doppelgangers? Sure, but people talked about that shit happening back then, seeing themselves and stuff. Okay, so if we believe that shit, why would it mean he has anything to do with anything? Well, my grandpappy said that the guy that did it was in 2 or 3 places at once sometimes. There's small moments of silence that we all absorb that information. Sounds like a load of shit to me, Duke. Duke jumps up in the seat. I'm just telling you what I know. So, what's the solution to all of this then? I don't know. It stopped when they got the guy. Duke cowers in the chair, then glances at me. Leo follows his gaze, and his eyes turn steely. Duke seems to notice Leo's sudden change in demeanor, but before he can do anything, he gets a massive slap from the wolf. Leo, stop it. Duke immediately starts sobbing again, and curls up in himself. Me? This fucker wants to get at Chase. It did seem that way. Did Duke think the only way to stop all of the problems in this town was to kill me? Duke. Kazu tries a different approach, his voice much gentler than Leo's. The problem with your theory is that Chase hasn't killed anyone, right, Chase? Of course not. Of course not. So maybe we need to rethink things a little, huh? Or maybe he can do that in a fucking jail cell. We're going back to get my van. Then we're gonna get the hell out of here. If we can. I'm still not sure about that thing the mayor was talking about. What thing? A monster. Or something. The mayor told us it's killing people. They're trying to leave. Leo stares. Has the town really gone that fucking insane? Kazu shrugs. There were bodies. Jesus. Leo looks around. Well, it still sounds like bullshit. But if there is anything, we'll be fine if we leave in the car. The motel is closer. We can use my car instead. Sure. Duke is staring at me with a hard look. He had the feeling that, despite all the things we just told him, he's not buying it. Leo hauls the weasel off the chair, gaining a little squeak of pain from Duke as he's forced to break eye contact with me. What about the others? We're going to try and find everyone we can before we leave, but the priority is to get ourselves to a police station. Leo pulls me to stand in front of him before gesturing at Kudzu. Kud, take the gun. Safety's off now. Kudzu visibly frowns as I hand it to him. Yeah, sorry about that. I want chase between us. I don't want these fuckers. I don't trust these fuckers not to try anything, especially if Brian comes back. So, with Kudzu leading the way, we make our way out of Brian's house into the night. It's quieter this time round as we head out onto the deserted night street. Seems like things have settled a little, at least. Kudzu's fur is still bristled out on the back of his neck. I'm starting to worry about him. He's been tense, even considering the situation we're in. Keep your eyes peeled anyway, of course. I've also been sensing a strange sort of tension between the two of them. It can probably put up to the situation currently at hand, though. We're all on edge. I can see the motel a ways down the road, but honestly, the lights are all out. Duke has gone quiet for the most part. I wonder if he's just given up, or if he's planning something. Hopefully it's the former. I'm not really seeing anything out of the ordinary here. Trust me, things are fucked up. We pass the diner. The moonlight glints softly off the metal edges. A dark, sick feeling sets in as I stare at the black windows. That's where it all started. Should we check? Is she still there? No. Leo's quiet behind me for a moment, then clears his throat. Don't see why there'd be a need to do that. I don't know, to tell the cops about it or something? If the cops hadn't been here, then I'm sure she's still in there. No use looking inside. Alright. Hey, it's gonna be okay, alright? Not for Janice. Leo doesn't say anything to that as he continues down the road, finally reaching the motel parking lot. Keep moving. Look behind me and see that Duke stopped, still looking back at the diner. I see something. What? Kudzu stops too and looks back at us. Something. I look at the diner, but I see nothing moving in the windows or in the front of it. It's way too dark to see anything in there anyway. Leo prods at Duke's back, but the weasel refuses to move, rooted to the spot. I'm gonna have to carry you. Leo goes for Duke for just a moment, reaches up and turns him around, probably to throw the weasel over his shoulder. Before he can do that, Duke screams, long and loud, and it raises all the hairs on the back of my neck. Before Leo can stop him, the weasel takes off into the night, away from the diner, toward a grouping of trees and bushes to the side of the road. Leo curses and immediately goes after him. Kudzu starts to follow. Don't follow me. Wait by the car. Leo shouts over his shoulder before disappearing into the brush. Then, more faintly, and watch Chase. Kudzu and I stare into the darkness. Bugger. Like, right now we're at the hour mark, but I feel like we're just at the end, but I'm not sure if we're just at the end. Kudzu and I stare into the darkness, listening to the two of them crash through the brush before fading out into silence. After a few moments, Kudzu rubs his head and turns to me. Well, guess we should get the car then. Frown, not really worried that Duke can do much to Leo, but rather that they'll run into someone that could. Shouldn't be hard to catch him. He's in handcuffs. Duke can be fast when he wants to be. Fuck. I feel like we should have gone with him. Keep staring off in the darkness of the brush, and Kudzu puts a hand on my shoulder as he passes. Don't worry, Leo. Sorry, I can read. Leo can take care of himself, especially when he's up against someone like Duke. A handcuffed Duke. Yeah. Reluctantly, I follow the raccoon. Leo's brief presence had been so strong and reassuring It's kind of jarring to be without it again. At the same time, though, it's not all that different with kudzu. It was just more overpowering with it, I guess. I wish I had a walkthrough thing that I could look at to briefly be like, okay, how much more of this game do we have? Let's have a little bit of a mental break. Game. And it just goes to some other echo. Yeah, it do be like that. Echo VN walkthrough. I just want something to briefly be like, hey, I don't know. It's like, come on, give me something. Do I keep going, or do I keep here? Okay, it does have something. Uh, Yeah, it seems like there is quite a bit more after this. Well, maybe not quite a bit more, but there's more after this. So I think that's where we're going to call it. I really thought there was going to be quite a bit more to this. Or actually, let's just go back here. Because it's like, let's see. When I'm looking at this thing, it's like, here's Leo's route. Lake Emma, confronted by Brian. No, wait. Yeah, I guess it's like there's kind of is something, but it's like there's an entire 2 to 3 paragraphs left, so it's like that's yeah. Like I'm briefly looking over it, but trying not to look at it too hard because it's like this is the last day, but it's also like there's more to this, I guess. Sorry, it's just gonna be a long episode. So when it's ended this, let's place a comment, guys. Like, comment, say what you like, dislike, tips, always. If you like my YouTube and like to see it grow, then please like, subscribe, and check out the videos that have grown. Please remember to survey your animals that control the pit population. And until next time, let's say me, GamerWolfSix of Echo, a game where, unfortunately, like most of these things, can't tell how far you are in it. It's gonna be a long episode. I mean, hey, it's a big shit happened. There wasn't really a breathing moment. Fun plays game, itch.io. If you want to support people that made this game and making others, Patreon, $3. So nice. Thanks to see you.